feel like I should have some smoke or something. No. So my name is Matt Plapp. I am the, CEO technically of America's Best Restaurants. I always just kind of laugh at titles for me because it's just whatever it happens to be that day. But America's Best Restaurants is a couple different companies I'll show you in a second. Who am I personally? You'll see I always wear orange shoes. I always wear food socks unless it's not a food day. Today's orange Fanta. And then I always have an orange shirt on. Married 22 years, together with my wife 26. That's my daughter and son, and anybody that knows they have teenagers, you know you have somebody else with you at every freaking picture. So that is Paige and her boyfriend Mason, and that is Cole and his best friend Abe's. Abe's is actually at our house for 3 days. Somehow these idiots aren't throwing a party. My wife is down here, and I'm like, bro, as long as you don't touch my car, we're good. But he's not smart enough to throw a party. There's Paige and I, Breakfast Republic, probably my favorite breakfast place out in San Diego. Who am I professionally? I deal with restaurants. One thing I pride myself on is that I would put money against anybody outside of maybe like a Cisco rep that I have been inside the four walls of more restaurants since 2016 than anybody else. The pandemic didn't slow us down. I traveled every other week. I'm in anywhere from 30 to 50 restaurants when I travel. And one of the reasons is I know it's important to understand what you're doing. The story I'm going to tell you in a minute was me early on not understanding. I understood Matt Plapp world, and I didn't understand the world of the restaurant operator. The van you see there is parked out front. That's one of two. We will have 50 of those in 5 years. There'll be 10 of those by late next year. There'll be another one that's a motorhome that actually documents the journey, a show that I'm creating for Netflix. But those vans travel the country and film restaurants. We did 48 restaurants last week in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio. I drove it down here with David, my marketing director and videographer, bless you, and then a team of my 4 employees come down Sunday to drive it all over South Carolina for like 5 days. I think they're ending in Tennessee maybe, I'm not sure. But I love having conversations with restaurants. This is me in South Carolina, the city that's across from Augusta, Georgia, somewhere in there. That's William from Fire Pizza. That's Moore, Oklahoma. That's Brian Picard, Fatty Smokehouse. And then that is in north of Charlotte. That's a Fruitables franchise. So business-wise, who we are, our company has 2 arms. America's Best Restaurants, the media company, is my TV network and online network I'm creating to help restaurants tell your story. We travel and we film, like I think we're filming a couple people's restaurants in here this week and next week, and it's free. We show up, we film it. We're investing 7 figures annually to grow that part of the company that we know it'll pay off down the road, hopefully. My wife always cracks up at my experiments in our companies, but we've always done that. The marketing side of it is all these beautiful people down here. This all started with cartoons because a lot of our female employees could never get me a picture they liked. And so I hired a cartoonist, and every time we hire somebody, they get put in payroll, they get put into different benefits, and they get a cartoon drawn. Ashley has been with me for 10 years. She leads a team of about 40 full-time and part-time people that only work with restaurants. It's like I told somebody the other day, I said, this restaurateur was talking to me. She's like the head chef himself. And he's the restaurateur, the owner, and he handles his marketing. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how many steaks do you make a week? He goes, oh gosh, probably 500. I said, I make 2 every couple weeks. Who do you think's better? Even if we're both have the exact same opportunity to become good, I'm gonna guess you've probably learned everything in a week that I would learn in 5 years on making steaks. These people down here work on thousands of campaigns exclusively for restaurants. They're experts. I made a video and gave it to all of them this morning talking about how I look forward to this group right here who are kind of managers, and in a couple years you'll be speaking at food conferences because of your expertise. So that's who we are. So today's goal, I have 3 goals for today. Number 1, I want you all to realize that attention matters more than anything. It's something that a lot of people take for granted, that they want to see proof with everything. They don't realize that at the end of the day, if this fraction of customers sees you 1,000 times, they'll come this many times. If they see you 10,000 times, they'll come more. They see you 100,000 times, they'll come even more. My son asked me the other day why Paige gets whatever she wants. Not the fact that she's my daughter and you're my son, but I said, Cole, you never complain. You never ask for anything. Paige has had 3 Jeeps in 4 years. Cole's on a Honda Civic, I'll promise you, dude drives it till he's 35. I said, you're non-maintenance. Paige is me as a female, maintenance as can be. She talks more than me. It's the same thing. So at the end of the day, your customers, the more attention they get from you, whether it's in the restaurant, whether it's on Facebook, which is down today, by the way, if you can't find your Facebook stuff, or whether it's on any marketing, they'll come to your restaurant more often. The second part is I want to show you how above attention, engagement trumps impressions and likes and reach. People actually talking to you and talking to them. I'll do a quick survey. Who in here responds to the negative reviews on Yelp? Restaurant. Who in here responds to the positive reviews? It's like you're a minority. A lot of people, oh my gosh, this guy left me a bad review. I'm going to type 400 paragraphs about why we're great. And the 100 people that said how you guys are awesome, nothing. Engagement is where it's at. And then last but not least, I want to get you hungry. See what I did there? Hungry restaurants? For gathering data. Why? Because the more data a customer gives you, the more opportunity you have at building a relationship. The more information you know. If you've got Matt, let's say for example, you've got Matt Plapp, you know he comes here, you kind of know him. He's the weird guy that drives an orange car and wears an orange shirt and wears orange shoes. But you don't have his information, okay, that's one step. You got to hope and pray I come back. If you have my email, that's a better step. My email and cell phone, more. If you have my email and cell phone and actually know my name, and instead of sending a hey you email, you say, Matt, come to our restaurant. Next step. You know that I'm a male versus a female. Next step. You know that I'm new, frequent, or lost. Next step. So we're going to go through that. 2015 was the journey, the time that I kind of made a good decision and a bad decision. I've been in marketing since 1999. I've been in my own consulting since 2008. And the first businesses we started helping in 2008 on digital marketing, and I was speaking for like Constant Contact, places like that, but the first restaurant was a biz client was a restaurant. We picked up a handful of restaurants and then had a group of 9 at one point. Well, one of my clients in 2015, Nick, awesome guy, awesome operator, brand called Hofbrauhaus, Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Newport, him and 2 other guys owned, used to always say, I can't deposit likes. Love saying it. It was this fun catchphrase. Now, Nick, to put it in perspective, had a flip phone, and Karen, the office manager for the restaurant, would read to him his emails, and she would reply. So he wasn't a tech dude, to say the least. But he loved spending, we spent like about $1.2 million a year for them between the 3 stores. They had a $350,000 ad budget, each store. They did about $6 to $7 million in sales, each store. And of that $350,000, let's say for this example, I'm gonna show you Columbus, maybe $10,000 in some years was Facebook or YouTube. And the minute I spent $50, oh my God, how do we know this works? You know, never mind the fact that we have no clue the $80,000 we spent at the Cincinnati Red Stadium to have people do the chicken dance every 3rd game. Has anybody ever walked in here chicken dancing and said, hey, I'm here because of chicken dance? But Nick used to say, I can't deposit likes. Well, I'm a person that likes to prove people wrong. And I think me proving myself wrong also kind of screwed up a little bit of our messaging the last couple of years, so I'm trying to correct it. So what happened was, it was April 2015. You guys have all heard of the amazing national holiday, National Pretzel Day, right? Everybody celebrates like literally like Christmas, Thanksgiving, National Pretzel Day. So National Pretzel Day was coming up. It was April 26, 2015. About a week before this, I said, okay, Nick, I'm going to prove you wrong. You can get revenue from this. Well, how? I said, we're going to do a promotion, and the only way they're going to know about it is an email we send out and this post that we make on Columbus, Newport, and Pittsburgh, and we're going to put $50 of an ad spend in Facebook ads, not a boost, an ad, because there's a difference, behind it. That did $18,000 in sales that Sunday. 100% this. So then Nick's like, oh crap, next week let's make up a holiday. It's National Fried Sauerkraut Ball. And so it became this contest. And so then I got to this path where we started learning that, hey, this is great, but how much better would it be if we knew these 991 people, instead of that, it was 999 comments, and those comments led to somebody's data, and that data led to somebody walking in the restaurant. And we could show you that, hey, this person saw a Facebook post, scanned a QR code in the restaurant, clicked a button on the website, gave us a bunch of information, came in the restaurant, spent money. Great. So we did that. We got to a point where we built out a platform that restaurateurs that we run hundreds of restaurants nationwide could literally see how the marketing on the front end generated revenue. This past year, I kept going back to the original fact, though, that Nick, if 50,000 impressions happen annually versus 1,000, do we not agree that if those 50,000 impressions are by people who know, like, and trust the brand, who engage at a deep level, and are through different methods like targeted Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, through emails and texts that are on our list, that's going to generate revenue. You don't have to have 100% absolute proof. And I kind of equated to this wave yesterday. This is my wife taking a picture of me. I think she was checking out my butt. Don't know. Maybe, probably not. But I went out and got in the water, and I was watching the waves. And no lie, I got back. I said, I'm guessing you took a picture on the beach. She's like, yeah, I got one of you in your stupid little swimsuit. Because I forgot my swimsuit, so I just wore my workout shorts. They go underneath my shorts, so I might get a citation later. But she was making fun of me apparently somewhere, I think TikTok. And so I'm watching these waves come in. And I'm thinking that I can jump over a wave, I can go under a wave, but the wave's going to hit me, and the wave doesn't stop. Well, you need to think of your marketing the same way. That if 52 weeks a year, the wave hits every week. I'm like, what's your name? Sam? What's your favorite restaurant?
Greco Fresh.
Okay, Sam's favorite restaurant is Bill's restaurant, Greco Fresh.
There we go.
If Sam enjoys Bill's presence, because Bill walks up and says, hey, Sam, man, how's the family? How's life going? He doesn't walk up and say, how you doing? Because we all don't care about how we're doing. He walks up and has a specific conversation and talks about football and the Patriots game the other night. If on a weekly basis, that restaurant you're exposed to them more often. If you saw Greco, I'm guessing you're probably his Cisco rep. So if you weren't his Cisco rep and you were, Joe Schmo down the street, and you saw Greco 10 times a year and you drove by it twice a year and you got an email a couple times a year, you'd go eat there occasionally. If you got something every week or maybe every couple weeks were impacted, you would eat there more often. So I like to tell people, and this analogy literally was made up yesterday because I'm watching the waves come in. And I'm like, wow, if your marketing can be waves, it'll be more impactful. So the big thing to think about, and this is a number that I was called out on recently because I literally didn't put the facts behind it, but I told people at a conference, I said, hey, if you can impact 600 people annually at a deeper level, you'll increase your incremental profit close to 100 grand a year. And this guy's like, Matt, you're on drugs. He's like, I know you don't do drugs or drink, but I'm going to guess something that maybe the car was started in the garage. You're supposed to laugh at that. So I said, okay, I'll prove it to you. So I got 600 customers. Because we're all worried about a huge list. Like, let's get a 20,000 person email list. Let's get a Facebook following of 100,000 people. Let's go TikTok famous. You don't need it. You need 600 people to like you a little more. And what that means is, think about if you get 200 of that 600 to come 5 more times a year. What kind of restaurant is Greco, Bill? Greek fast casual. So if I'm jamming some Greek fast casual, I can probably do that every week. Right? What's the average check? 20 bucks? So 20 bucks average check.
25.
25. Do you have alcohol?
Do I drink some?
No, do you sell alcohol?
Some beer and wine.
Okay, so that screwed my numbers up. Okay, fast cash, there we go. So you got 200. If you can get Matt Plapp, who's a frequent customer, who likes Bill's restaurant, where's it at, by the way?
All Charlotte-based.
Okay, Charlotte-based. We were in Charlotte a couple months ago shooting. So if you can get me to come 5 more times a year, that's once every other month. I'm already coming more often, but if you can get me to come one more time every couple months, that's pretty simple. That's 1,000 visits by those 200 people. Then you get 200 people that maybe Matt brings his brother with him occasionally. And he's like, man, this place is popping. I'm going to start coming more often. This is good food. It's good quality. It's fresh because he's getting it from Cisco. I really enjoy it. So now you've got 2,000 visits from that fraction. Then Matt brings his friend who's never been. Now you've got 200 new customers coming 15 times a year because it's not hard. It's like my son eats at Chipotle every other day, it seems like. He had a $24 Uber Eats order the other day by himself. I don't know what the kid ate. Now, granted, he's 250 pounds. He's my height. He's a giant lineman. But if you think about that, 600 customers, 200, 200, and 200, 6,000 visits annually. 6,000 visits at $25. I'm not a mathematician. That's probably 140 grand. 140 grand minus the food you got from Cisco puts you about $100,000. Your mortgage is there. Your electric's there. Your payroll is there. All that's already there. you just netted $100,000. You could go buy a great van like that out front and travel. So the reason I'm showing you this, I want to show you that you don't have to have 15,000 Facebook fans, 100,000 Instagram followers. You don't have to have 500 people comment on every Facebook post. You have to somehow make an impact on 600 people annually. So I want to give you an example. Email list, thousands. I want to imagine just January 1st, and you start an email list with 1,000 people and you never try to grow it at all. You're going to use that email list for 1,000 people. You're going to do what every restaurant. Do you send emails? Bill? No. Nothing? Do you send text? No. Security? No, I'm just kidding.
Everything on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay. So, did you know Facebook and Instagram are down right now? Yeah. So you have no way to get your message out. If you had an email list, you would. We'll talk later. By the way, here you go.
My customers know where we're at.
So, by the way, if you want a book, I got to cop my new book up here. But let's just imagine. Let's assume you're like every restaurant that exists, and you send an email every week to the entire audience. You have 1,000 people, all 1,000 get to hear from you every week, and they get to hear the same crap every week about how good your food is, your beer, your wine, your music night, your kids' night, all this junk. That means you're going to send 52,000 emails. You're going to get, at the end of the year, you're going to have a 10% open rate. Just a fact. You start with 40%. People get tired of seeing your crap. You get to 10%. You're going to have 5,200 opens, 1% click-through rate, 52 clicks. You're going to have an impact 5,252 times a year. Here's the thing. That 1,000-person list is going to be 600 people in a year because people are tired. Who's unsubscribed from an email here before? You unsubscribe because you don't give a shit anymore, correct? So, on top of that, when you go from 1,000 to 600 and an open rate of 30% to 10%, now you got a good old 30 people opening your email, and 2 of them are homeless. So the next thing is look at is 2 things I'm going to show you today. Number 1, we're going to get Bill to start an email and text list. Because now you take that list from 1,000, let's say it's 10,000 people. Because it's not hard to build a list of 5,000 to 10,000 people. If your restaurant has any size around it, Basilio's Pizza, Fairboot, Minnesota, 20,000 population, she has an email and text list of 7,800 people after 1 year of work. You know where Fairboot is? Oh, I thought you guys were talking about Fairboot. My bad. Just giving you a hard time. I'm more attracted to you with orange. I mean, best looking guy in the crowd. So now you've got 10,000 people, but here's the thing. You're not going to email everybody every week because I'm going to show you why you need to quit emailing everybody every week. You're going to learn how to segment your audience. But now you're emailing that same 10,000 like every other week. And you're going to get a much better open rate because you don't suck as much at marketing to them. They're not annoyed by you. And now you get 52,000 opens. And you have a 2% click-through rate, which still isn't that good. Well, let's just double it because it's easy math. I went to public school and that was easier for me. So now you got 1,040 clicks. You've got 520 secondary click. What's a secondary click? As I'll show you in a minute, that's where you send somebody somewhere because you asked them. Hey, go to Instagram, tell me who your top draft pick in your fantasy draft's going to be, and you have a chance to win a $50 gift card. So now you get a secondary click because they go to Instagram and leave a comment. So now you've got 53,000 impressions. If you have 5,000 or 53,000, you're going to sell more food. It's not rocket science. Paige has 3 Jeeps at 19 is what she's had in 3 years because the first Jeep, Dad bought her a stick, and she couldn't figure out how to drive a stick because she's 4'11", and her little legs couldn't reach. And so she called me crying, so I got another Jeep. The next year, Christy didn't like the Jeep I got her because I was a little cheap. Now she got a new Jeep. If she would have never called crying and just sucked up on how to drive a stick and had that, she'd have 1 Jeep. But you know what? More attention. Was it the squeaky wheel gets the grease, something like that? So Paige is my squeaky wheel. So today, I'm going to talk about attract, build, retain. How do we attract attention? How do we build a database off attention? And then how do we retain, this is double-edged, how do we retain our customers' attention and your actual customers? Because people have a lot of choices. If I'm going to Bill's restaurant and I got to go 10 stoplights, I'm going to guess there's probably 30 or 40 restaurants I got to stop by. He's probably not the only Cisco restaurant within 10 minutes, especially Charlotte. You got Charlotte, you got Carey's over there, you got all these different places that people drive by a lot of restaurants. So how are you retaining customers? So number 1, I was curious because I looked up the definition of attention. The act or power of carefully thinking about or listening to or watching someone or something. My wife wants my attention when I'm at dinner. My daughter wants my attention when I'm at her football game she's cheering for in college. My son wants my attention in his game. Those last two are the reasons I don't take my phone. I don't take my phone to dinner with my wife, my family. I don't take my phone to football games. And occasionally it gets stuck in there because my wife will get a picture of her doing something. I want them to have my attention. I want you all to figure out how to have the attention of your customers. So not all attention is created equal. Everybody's got posts that get likes. Like my daughter can put up a post, she's freaking gorgeous. My wife's gorgeous. They can both put up a post and 1 billion people are gonna like it. Oh my God, you're so pretty, and they like. The cool part though is when you get people to engage. So I did this as an experiment for this. I got on Facebook 3 weeks ago and put Brussels sprouts, yes or no. I got on Facebook a week later and said Pop-Tarts, toasted or not. Who doesn't toast their Pop-Tarts in here? Okay, thank you. You don't? We'll talk afterwards. David's converted. I did a video with David the other day. He toasted his first Pop-Tart. Proud of him. He's converted to toastism. So when I also say attention is not created equal, here's another way of attention. If you look at this, this is a restaurant. It got 300, what does that say down there? 587 people liked and hearted it and all that good stuff. But 1,500 commented. Who in here has had a Facebook post that got 1,500 comments for their restaurant? Bill, you're on Facebook, 1,500? Nobody. The only people that really do, honestly, are the restaurants my team works with and people we've consulted and given ideas to. Why? Because they're not coming up with the right call to action. They're not using the data correctly. So what I want to teach you today is how to do that. The second part is building your database. When I met Christy in whatever that was, I don't even know when it was, 26 years ago, whatever the math on that is. I was a sophomore in college. She was a freshman in college. I had just transferred to a new school to play football. She had come in to play softball. She's a freak of nature, player of the year in Ohio. She batted .777 in 5 years of high school-based softball, fast pitch. Lady's a freak. Like, don't ever throw something at her. It's coming back. Met her at study hall. Long story short, I asked for her number. I got her number. I went on a date. She actually hit me with a basketball in the nose at Mr. Gaddy's the first date. I'll never forget that. I still hold it against her. We dated. I got more information. Every time we went on a date, I got more data. I learned what she liked, what she didn't like. I eventually suckered her into marrying me. We eventually had a couple of kids, and here we are like 700 years later. The goal of you, restaurateurs, should be to eventually marry your customers. Because if they become married to you, they come more often. A lot of you have a lot of one-night stands. People that come occasionally. I put it in the book, hope and pray, aim and expect. Most restaurateurs hope that the customers had a great experience, and they pray that the next time they want Mediterranean fast casual, they come back. If you have their data and you can pull that data out and aim at a segment of your audience, you can expect them to come back. I can expect my wife to go to dinner with me last night because one, she's in South Carolina with me, she's screwed. But two, I have her information, I know how to get her to go. So how do you marry your customers? Well, you marry your customers by finding out the right information about them. How many people in here have an email list or text list? Okay? How many of you have it segmented where you know which ones are new, lost, or frequent by them telling you? Not by their visits, by them physically telling you when they joined, I'm new, lost, or frequent. Probably not many, but you've got it, I'm guessing, because of the usage in a point of sale or loyalty. The people that are in a point of sale or loyalty are right here, they're frequent. So what we want to try and find out is when somebody joins a marketing program, you want to find out who they are. Because a new customer to Bill's restaurant, Greco, right, needs to know where Greco's at, how many locations, what their hours are, where's the menu. They need to be indoctrinated. They need to be able to prepare to walk in. You also need to excite them to make them want to walk in. Lost customers might be lost for many reasons. Maybe their office isn't open yet, and they've been gone from the pandemic the last 18 months. And they haven't had Taco Tuesday for 18 months because they haven't had a chance to come to your restaurant because they're back at home, not at work. Frequent customers need a high five. We love you. You're a rock. You're the reason we're open. All restaurants survive on frequent customers. The van out front says helping restaurants find more frequent customers because your goal should be to get people that are new and lost to become frequent. When they become frequent, you get more money more often. As I showed you, if you can take 600 people and make them more frequent, it's a hell of a lot more money. Now, I'll give you a conversation I had this morning, talking to a restaurant this morning in Florida who's launching a new loyalty program in December. And he's like, Matt, we're launching this new loyalty program, this new thing. I don't think we'll need help getting all this information anymore. I said, that's cool. That's a really cool idea. I said, you know who doesn't join loyalty programs? New customers, lost customers. 60 to 70% of the people that you can reach through marketing online are going to be new and lost. It's a fact. I've seen it, and somebody the other day said, how do you know this? I'm like, well, I can pull up 1,000 dashboards right now of many restaurants and show you data that shows exactly that. I work in facts. I work in data. That's why I know that attention leads to sales. Not necessarily everything has to be trackable. But the people that will not sign up for an app or a loyalty program are new and lost. They don't care. Like, my wife's not marrying me on the first date. That's what an app is. Like, if you go to the app store, if you go to a restaurant, a lot of restaurants have apps now. It's like telling people their app doesn't get the right amount of traffic nowadays is like calling their baby ugly. Back in 15 years ago, when I would go to restaurants or businesses and they say, look at my website, I just spent 20 G's on this website. And I'd look at it and go, oh my God, man, did you get a warranty? Like, is there a return policy? You called their websites ugly back then, they got mad at you. It's the same with apps right now. It's like I talked to a restaurateur recently that was actually introduced me by Mr. Davis Scott Peters in the back, who's up next. And he had, I think, 1,400 people in his loyalty program. I said, Steve, how do you feel about those 1,400 people? How effective is the program? He's like, it's awesome. I said, so if that 1,400 was 2,800, it'd be double awesome, right? Yeah. And if that 2,800 turned to 5,600, it'd be quadruple awesome. Yeah. Well, the way to get that program, that loyalty program, is to walk people down the path that when somebody tells you, I've not been to your restaurant before, and you indoctrinate them and you get them to come in 2, 3, 4 times, then you can ask that question, download our app. So the key element here is segmenting data. So I'm going to show you an automation here. I'm going to pause this. I showed this morning, but I'll spend a little time because there's a lot of new faces in here. I wasn't going to show it this morning. But what this is an automated tactic that we use. It's called Database Dynamite. It's our little fragment of software we use within Facebook Messenger, which apparently is not working right now. But it'll catch up when things happen in a couple hours and the gods in the universe turn things back on. It'll fire. But what happens is our goal is to find out information about people. And if you ask people in the correct manner, they will give you their information. And so in this case, we're going to start off by there's going to be a code in the restaurant. It's going to be a button on the website. It's going to be a flyer at a high school football game. It's going to be something that gets somebody to take an action to give us their information. When they do that, it goes into Messenger. It's a Facebook post they comment on, whatever. It goes into Messenger and it asks them, great, answer the question below regarding Grand Rapids Black Rock Bar and Grill. I haven't been before. We look forward to seeing you on your first visit. If they didn't say I haven't been before, if I'm a frequent customer, love frequent customers like you. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Gets their cell phone number, gets them to agree to text, gets their email. This also pulls in their gender and their first and last name. Because my wife, Chrissy, doesn't like to be replied to as, hey, you. She likes to be called Christy. Bill likes to be called Bill. David likes to be called David. Does that, and then at this point, it delivers something to them, whether it's offers or a contest or a sweepstakes. The key element is it now gave us more data. We've now married the customer from a standpoint of data. How do we keep them in handcuffs? How do we keep them? How do we get them to drive by the restaurant? Because there's a saying in the marketing world, the way you win and get more customers is you spend more money than the person next door. That I could spend more money and get people's customers. It's a fact. And so the concept is, how do I get that customer to stay loyal to me? And it's by getting them locked up. Not physically, but marketing-wise. So I'm going to talk about this because we talked about it a minute ago, a couple more minutes. David, you're up at 3, right? Oh, who's in here at 3? Nobody? Oh, 3:30. Perfect. My bad. I don't know why I had 3 in my mind. Okay, so when we're talking about engagement, so we're talking about locking people up. When I showed you that example earlier of 10,000 people getting a message, 1,000 people, open rates going up and down, the reason they go up and down, who in here who's want to be like vulnerable? Who sends emails on a weekly basis? You? Bi-weekly? Monthly? Okay, so monthly, not bad. You have a restaurant. You guys send emails? No text? Emails? Okay, how often? Bi-weekly. How often do you email your customers about something that has nothing to do with the restaurant? Never. So think about it. You've got 52 weeks a year. It's 52 opportunities to talk to people. Chop it in half because nobody wants to be bugged weekly. You got 26 opportunities to talk to people. If all 26 times it's, hey, Christy, yeah, I went running this morning, ran half mile to the beach, did some push-ups, ran in the water, ran back. I'm awesome. Spoke, I killed it. People bought, whatever. If I went home and just constantly bragged or talked to my wife about me, she wouldn't be around for 26 years. It's the same with customers. You got to find a way to get your customers' attention without always talking about you. Social media is not about your restaurant. Instagram is not about your restaurant, but if I go to 9 out of 10 restaurants' Instagram pages and Facebook posts, it's why to come to the restaurant. It's how to get here. It's our menu. It's order online. It's available third party. It's all that stuff. Back when the pandemic hit, there's a restaurant down the street from me that I predicted would close in about 5 or 6 months. It closed in like 2 after I said this. But the guy that owned it, you would have thought, if you looked at his online profile, you would have not knew he owned a restaurant. And I'm like, dude, I told him, we have a common friend. I said, Jim, that was expensive. Your build out was what, 280? Yeah. And it was already a place done. You got 280 grand in that. You probably got personal guarantee on the lease. Why aren't you telling people? Why don't you tell the story of opening a restaurant, of how great your restaurant is, about your staff, about the events happening, about the high school football game you sponsored? Well, the minute the pandemic hit, March 17th, guess who was on Facebook begging for business? Him. It didn't work because he hadn't built up a rapport. He had been ghosted for years, and all of a sudden, boom. And so from an attention standpoint, you got to think about, how can I get my customers' attention without constantly posting about it? Because if I'm a frequent customer of Bill's restaurant, I don't need to hear about the menu. I have a favorite. I guarantee you Bill's got thousands of customers that come in every week and get the exact same thing they've gotten for 10 years. They love it. I'm not changing. I go to Barleycorns in Florence, Kentucky. I get dock-style buffalo wings with blue cheese on the side and Saratoga chips and barbecue sauce. My wife makes fun of me all the time. You're never going to think different. I'm like, I'm not risking it. It's good. Why would I change? So guess what Matt doesn't need an email about? Your freaking menu. I just need to know about Barleycorns. If I hear about Barleycorns more often, I'm like, ooh, Barleycorn sounds good. And I can tell you from experience of how that works, because not only do I visit a lot of restaurants for business, we don't cook. Matt Plapp made Pop-Tarts a couple weeks ago. Actually, Saturday too. I forgot about that. So I've cooked twice. My wife joked that we made a DiGiorno a couple weeks ago. My wife told me 5 or 6 years ago, hey, now that the kids are a certain age, done. When the pandemic hit and everybody's going to Kroger, she's like, I don't give a shit. All these places got to go. We ate at Barleycorns 3 times a week in her Infiniti QX80. Number one, because I said we're going to support local restaurants, and I knew the Hiles, and I wanted to support a family I knew. But number two, I'm also like, oh, we don't cook. We suck at it. So when you talk about retaining your customers' attention, how do you get Matt Plapp to open more emails, to click more text messages, to engage in more Facebook posts? It's by talking about your customers. This is an April post that went out last April, of course, and said, hey, we're celebrating moms. Leave a great memory below of you and your mom. This had 211 people comment. It had 13,000 reach, 3,900 engagements. It's a one-location restaurant. 3,900 people physically did something on that post. And guess what it didn't talk about? Eating at the restaurant. This also was an email. So the way this kind of hacked the algorithm and got those 3,900 engagements, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, LinkedIn, the algorithm is all based on engagement. It's like driving down a road. if we couldn't see, if there was a concrete barrier this high and there was a giant car wreck over there, traffic here goes pretty smooth, right? The minute that barrier's down and we're all rubbernecking, traffic's backed up. Facebook, all the algorithms online are the same way. So what we did here was, okay, 26 times a year we're going to communicate to Sweet Tater's database. But we're going to look at that database and go, you know what? The first week of the month we only talk to new customers. Second week of the month we talk to frequent customers, which is why this hit April 15th, second week of the month. Third week of the month we talk to lost customers. Fourth week of the month we talk to everybody, which I think is the next post of contest, yeah. So first week of the month and third week of the month are easy. You're new or you're lost, get your ass in here. Here's a great reason. Here's a free steak, here's a free whatever. We're bribing them to get them to walk in the restaurant. Because the minute I get them to walk in the restaurant, I can do more cool stuff. I can prove how awesome. But in this case, this is the second week of the month. We say, okay, we need to talk to our frequent customers this month. What are we going to talk about? I'm going to talk about us. They don't need to know about us. I don't need to know. If that's your favorite restaurant, if Greco is your jam, you don't need to know about Greco. You just need to see and hear Greco more often. So we send an email out to the database. And we say, hey, and by the way, this went to the frequent women, not men. So her database, couple hundred of that database got an email that said, May is Mother's Day. We want to celebrate mothers for a month. Click below, go to this Facebook post, and let us know a special memory about your mom. To the tune of 574 likes, 54 loves, bunch of stuff. But the biggest thing was 211 people commented on it, and you can see these were valuable comments. They engaged in an email. If they didn't click the email, they got a text message the next day that said, hey, Christy, you might not have saw your email yesterday. We sent you something awesome about Mother's Day. Click here to share a memory on Facebook with us about you and your mom. They click it, they go. So here's where it hacks the algorithm. Facebook, the typical Facebook post gets about 3 to 5 comments. Doesn't really make Facebook go, oh my God, 3 people did something. It does work. If you do it 365 times a year, that attention stacks. And you're in the business of stacking attention. But when you make a Facebook post like this, and within an hour or two, it gets 20 comments, and then that email goes out, and it gets 50 more comments, and the text goes out, and it gets 100 more comments, Facebook's algorithm goes, whoa, what's going on here? Everybody else gets 3 comments. This has 100. You know what we're going to do? We're going to find women that look identical to those early adopters that are in the targeted area of this restaurant, and we're going to deliver it to them. Imagine if who in here got the newspaper years ago? I mean, does anybody still get the paper? Who in here used to get you do? Who in here used to get the paper delivered 15, 20 years ago? Imagine if every day you walked out, your paper was exactly what you wanted. The arguments you wanted to have about the election, the stuff you wanted to hear about with the pandemic, the restaurants you love, the friends from high school that you like the most. That's what Facebook and Instagram is. It's what YouTube is. It's what LinkedIn is, what TikTok, all this stuff. It's all gamified if you do things like this. If you consistently find ways. So that's getting this post to go viral because we're feeding it to the frequent women on our list. And then at the same time, when those 100 or so women that commented that weren't in that email list commented, it opened up a conversation in Messenger and said, hey, Kelly, thanks for commenting on our Facebook post. Would you like to join our VIP program for our restaurant? And it takes them down a whole other level. The next thing is that last week of the month. How hard is it to guess how many jelly beans are in a jar? It's not hard at all. We've all done it. Everybody's probably done something like this. We have found that posts like this, number one, are for the last week of the month. The entire database gets it and says, hey, bro, go to Facebook. And we go to Facebook typically because a lot of these restaurants, sometimes we go to Instagram. Depends on the demographic. But for the most part, Facebook is the best place to drive this because you get 3 bangs for the buck. You get a really cool reason to send somebody an email and a text without asking for business, which is what we all do. Everybody asks, every time you market to your customers, you're asking for business. It screws with their mind that you're not asking for business. I'm going to give you a story. So, 2010, a company called Golf Exchange in Cincinnati, Ohio, came to me and said, Matt, we need marketing help. They knew I was a customer and knew what I did. We need some We want to figure out how to finally have a Christmas that doesn't suck. Cincinnati, you can't golf. It's cold. They're in northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, we're located, so you don't play golf in the winter there. We need a way to get women to come in here and buy golf clubs, not gift cards. I'm like, well, that's pretty tough because my wife has no clue what my golf clubs are, and I honestly wouldn't trust her with buying me a $300 paying driver. I said, but imagine if she had a wish list from me. Imagine if I was at the golf exchange for 10 or 12 weeks in a row during the winter, and I got to fill out a wish list, and that wish list had listed on there, list 3 people in your life that buy you Christmas gifts, and my wife was one of the 3, and she came in, and she shopped from the wish list and got the exact driver I wanted. Voila, $25 gift card now goes to a $300 purchase. Their sales were up like 18,000%, but here's how it happened. We did a seminar series. I said, guys, we're gonna do a 10-week seminar series called Don't Winterize Your Golf Swing. We're gonna approach 10 golf courses around here. We're gonna get the pro of that course to come in and market his course through a seminar. How to putt, how to chip, how to drive, whatever. But here's the catch. The store is not allowed to ask them for business. Everybody that comes in here, it's free of charge. There's a $10 fee that pays for a reservation fee to reserve their chair. They're given $10 in food, they're given a t-shirt. We gave them $20 in value back. So it's in a way free, but we wanted to make sure we knew what was coming. But here's the cool thing. You cannot ask anybody. Your sales guys who are commissioned can't walk up to Denny Houlihan, my insurance guy, and sell Denny a driver. Because I knew they were here for a reason. I knew they got me here. I said, because what's going to happen is over the next 6 to 8 weeks, Denny's going to buy a driver anyways. He's in a golf shop for 6 weeks in the winter when he can't golf. He's looking at this brand new driver. He's going to buy it. But it's also going to give us a chance to get them to give us a wish list to invite their spouse in for ladies' night where we had massages and we had wine and we had different food. And guess what? Here's the 10 items your husband wants for Christmas. He doesn't want a gift card. He wants these shoes, these golf balls, this putter cover, all this crap. So when I bring that up is that the minute you approach your customers without a selling option and more of a them option, they become more attentive. They pay attention. So this is an email. This is a Facebook post that was made the end of the month. It was actually made June 1st, so the way it falls, it was close to the end of the month. And it was targeted to the entire database. We made this post. It's like, hey, comment below. Let's see. Oh, do you hear that? The sound of sweet, sweet summer is in the air, and we're giving away a $25 gift card to celebrate. Can you guess how many candies are in the below? And then we go on to put a bunch of stuff here. I'll give you a little hack. Can you guys see that see more button? We could have made this post on Facebook with 3 sentences. You know why we did like 10? Because the minute somebody clicks see more, Facebook's algorithm has double attribution. Matt Plapp stopped. Matt Plapp clicked see more. Let's find more dudes that wear orange, which there's not many of us. As you can see today, I thought this was like Clemson country and there's nobody wearing orange. I'm not even a Clemson fan. Not a Clemson guy, I just don't cheer for anybody. So this post gets a few hundred people to comment. We send an email out to the entire database. Hey, go to Facebook, click the link below, go there, tell me candies in a jar, you'll chance to win a $20 gift card. They go to Facebook. If they don't click the link, the next day they get a text. If they don't click the text, cool. We then run a $25 ad in Facebook targeting the people on the list and people who look identical to the people on the list, and we get traffic there. Long story short, this one location restaurant in Woodhaven, Black Rock Bar and Grill, got 1,400 comments, 1,493 to be specific, 139 likes. And so somebody said, man, I can't believe you got that little likes. I didn't ask them to like it. We asked them to comment. And so somebody thought they had me like, ha, I got you, Matt, there's no likes. Well, the reason was we asked them to comment. 1,400, that's 7,200 engagements, 27,000 people reached. Same thing. We reached out to people for the restaurant without saying come eat food. Funny thing about this post was this came along because in March, we tested some concepts with 2 of these locations. We have like 12 of them we do business with. 2 of them we tested. One of the owners of the brand, who also owns, I think, 3 stores in Florida, after about a month and a half, calls me up and says, Plappy, like, yeah, did you do something different with Black Rock Canton? Like, oh yeah, we did that candy, like my team did a candy contest. We tweaked our candy contest because we used to do these infrequently. It was like every third month. We didn't want to wear it out. We find we can do it every damn month. Last week of the month, every month, people love it. They eat it up. He's like, why didn't you pick my store? What do you mean? He goes, the stores you did that on saw a 30% bump the past 6 weeks in sales. And he's like, I know there's other things at play, but he's like, the fact that those couple stores that you did that with and the other ones you didn't blew up. The one had 5,900 comments. Black Rock, Grand Rapids. They had 2,400 people join their program from a Facebook post, from an email and a text and a little ad. They had like 600 visits within 4 weeks from that. And they were people that told us in the survey they were new or lost that visited. And so the concept was, think about it. We didn't ask for business. If we would have put up here, hey, comment below if you love sizzling fajitas, if you love our desserts. You'd have had some, but you wouldn't have had the mass appeal. When you don't have the mass appeal, Facebook doesn't spread it around everywhere. So the concept of all of that is we took marketing on the front end and attracted attention. How do we get people to stop and open their emails more often? How do we get them to click on text messages more often? How do we get them to stop on a Facebook post more often? How do we get them to click and go to the website more often? How do we get them to give us their data next? People will give you information if you ask correctly. I went to Panera Bread a while back, and the girl, no lie, exactly how it went, walked up to the counter, she goes, you don't want to give me your email, do you? No, not really. I mean, no. I went to a different restaurant that happened to be a place I was trying to mystery shop. Later found out that they all knew who I was, which I thought I was like 2 hours away from my house, but they knew that only a couple morons, I guess, were orange. And the guy said, hey, I see you got a burrito and you're not using your phone. Exact script we give them. You want a free burrito at your next visit? Hell yeah, bro. Do me a favor. Scan this QR code, which everybody knows about now because of COVID. Thank you. Scan that, which, by the way, we were using QR codes 7 years ago. People thought I was weird. Like, what is this weird barcode? You had to download an app. Now it's native. But scan this QR code. It's going to ask you 5 questions. Take 20 seconds. You're going to get some awesome promos for a thank you for joining the program. When you frame it like that, people are like, hell yeah, I'll do that. They'll give you whatever you want. It's just that typically we suck at asking people for information. We don't ask it in the correct manner. We don't set up the tone of, okay, here's why I'm asking this. I mean, how many people have ever went to a car dealership to buy a car, sat down with the finance director, and refused to give them their social? You know why you're there. You're buying a car. He needs your information. Well, it's the same thing. If you set the tone, it's the same thing. I want to go back and show you something real quick, because I meant to mention this earlier. So this brand, Cup Bop, Idaho, they have stores in Utah and Arizona and Las Vegas. Kevin was using a marketing company in Idaho for about 7 months. And if my memory serves me correctly, he was spending $4,000 a month on Facebook and Instagram advertising for these 5 stores. And the agency they were using, their whole thing was sending traffic to the menu, sending traffic to online ordering. And he's like, Matt calls me up like on a Saturday night because he forgets he's in Utah and I'm in Northern Kentucky. It's like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. I happen to be chilling in my hammock watching Key and Peele videos on YouTube, which if you haven't watched those, they're funny as can be. And I answer, I'm like, what's up, man? Should I fire my agency? I don't know who your agency is. Like, what? Why? Well, let me show you some stuff. And I said, well, send me some stuff. He sent me some logins, a dashboards, a PDF that they sent him that was 28 pages long on all the stuff they did for him the prior month. And I call him Monday, and I get on a Zoom, we get on a Google Meet, we're looking at everything. I said, so what's your question again? He was like, should I fire him? I said, what's your reasoning? I don't know if it's working. I said, well, I can promise you it's probably working. I mean, they got a ton of clicks. Like, people aren't just clicking your link in this ad and going to your website for the hell of it. But he's one of these guys, I gotta have proof. I'm curious if it's working. I said, well, here's an example we can do is, one, don't fire somebody, because I don't know, they might be the greatest marketers ever. I said, I don't know from a fact that what they're doing is working or not. I said, but let's try this. If in fact they have nurtured this audience for the last 7 months with no call to action, I mean literally, only call to action was click a link. If we put up an ad like I want to do, those people will take a big time action. So the ad was, you want a free bowl? Comment below which topping you would like in your bowl or click the link to get a free bowl. Well, as you can see, this was in like the matter of like 4 weeks, this got 1,500 comments. Their sales were up 59% the first 3 days to the next 3 from the prior 3 days, because we took people that had been a lot of attention, that already had the attention, had already been primed, and now we bribed them with something. Because a lot of people will see a restaurant. Who in here is driven by a restaurant and never stopped and tried it? Like, one day I'm gonna stop there. One day I'm gonna go. Everybody. But you haven't been given a push, a shove to try it. And I hear from restaurateurs all the time, like, I can't give away free food. I'm like, you're absolutely crazy. Like, this book talks about Walt's hitching post. It's on, there's a cool little graphic I had somebody make for me. It's got me in here on a scale. Page 55, chapter 8, offers that don't suck. If you want a copy of the book, by the way, come and get one. But it's 100 mats equals 100 grand. It's my example up there. And my concept is, this guy has openly, he knows who I am. He's heard, it was a funny story, I was in a coffee shop, and I was telling somebody an example of how Walt's never invites me to do business with them. No shit, I get a phone call 20 minutes later from the owner of Walt's. Hey, Matt, hey, what's up, man? I understand that you feel like you're not invited to my restaurant enough. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, well, somebody was at Coffee Emporium downtown and heard you telling a story. You know you're always welcome. I go, no, you didn't hear the context. What's the context? I said, the context is you guys aren't that good at marketing. From a standpoint, and nice to me, nice, I spend a lot of money, I spend money there, so I can tell him this, that I come 4 to 5 times a year. My mom and dad's anniversary, because my dad calls me the week before his anniversary every year and goes, hey, Matt, you know what this Saturday is? I'm like, you know what? It's your mom and I's 349th anniversary. I'm like, oh, congratulations. I guess you want to go to Walt's? That would be awesome. And he's like a little kid. He knows I'll take him to Walt's, and he literally calls me for that exact reason every year. We go my daughter's birthday. We go on my birthday. It's my favorite restaurant. And we usually go 1 or 2 other times. Costs $250 every time I go with me, my wife, and kids. If my mom and dad go and my brother comes, it's $400 or $500. If they reached out to me on a consistent basis, I'd be there every damn week. I can afford to go. I love their food. The service is legit. The problem is they're not near my house. They're not near my office. I never drive by them. They suck at marketing. They have no email list, no text list. I don't remember. And so we all have that restaurant like that. We also all have that restaurant we drive by that we're like, I'm going to try that one day. And so that was my comment to him one time in a conversation. He doesn't like me very much because of different personalities. I'm way too flamboyant. I probably say what I shouldn't say too many times. But it's not a big deal. There's a million restaurants out there. We only need a couple hundred. We're fine. But I told him, I said, if you gave 1,000 people a free steak, you're telling me you can't do that? I can't. The food costs this and that. I'm like, so I spend $250 every time I come. If you gave me a free steak once in exchange for my info and got me to come back 5 times 5 years, that's a pretty good investment. I'll do it all day long. And so that was the same thing here. Was this restaurant, the call to action wasn't hardcore enough. People had the attention. They clicked the link. They just didn't have anything to push them over the ledge. So attract, build, retain is what we like to talk about, is that if you can figure out a way to attract the attention of your database to build an audience, and then when you build that audience, use the marketing, whether it's email, text, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I have a tripod here for somebody. Who wants a tripod? Nobody? Tripod for camera to shoot videos. Oh, look like a Bengal wide receiver. There's a tripod. If you use video on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, what does it cost to use this device on every social media platform? 0. Take that tripod out, set it on your line, have your chef come on and go, hey, what's up? It's Chef Johnny. I'm going to tell y'all something. This burrito is not on the menu, but I make it for myself all the time. Little secret. Here's what I do. Boom, boom, boom. If you want it, ask for Chef Johnny's burrito. See you later. You create content like that, and you retain your customers' attention more often. You send out emails more often that don't suck. You get more people to open them more often. I mean, that same example of 1,000 people, if you don't email them every week, and you email them every other week like you ladies do, and then the emails aren't always about the restaurant, there's always a topic. You got Mother's Day in May, you got Father's Day in June, you got July 4th, you've got back to school in August. Who in here has ever done a Facebook post? Let me ask you a first question. What happens every August for women on Facebook with kids between 5 and 21? First day of school picture. Like clockwork. I can show you my wife's everywhere. She even got one, she forced my daughter at college this year for her and her boyfriend to take a picture by the university thing and send it in. Who in here has done a Facebook post to say, hey ladies, we want to see your kids' back to school pictures, comment in the post, we want to see all those cute smiles. Who's ever done that? That's an excuse to get attention. That's an excuse to retain attention. You think if 500 women comment on that post, and then 50 of them go, shit, that sounds good for lunch today. That's what happens. That's what happens. Last Sunday, I had an event that Mr. David Scott Peters spoke at our new office in Northern Kentucky. 9,000 square foot building, America's best restaurants, universities, the lower level. I'm hoping to start doing consistent seminars there. Sunday, I was thinking about what I was going to order. My friend Isaac owns a place called Better Blend. They do these smoothies, these acai bowls and smoothies. I'm like, sounds pretty good, Isaac. How do I order 15 bowls? He just do this, this, and this. Cool. Guess where I went to lunch on that Sunday? I went to Better Blend. Because that interaction with Isaac, even though I was buying 15 bowls the next day, I went and bought a bowl. I drove 10 minutes to his place to get a damn bowl. I was like, that sounds good. He had retained my attention. So if you think about all of your marketing from a standpoint of ABR, attract, build, retain, and you do more things on the front end to get people to their attention and interact and engage, and you do the exact tactics to build that email text list. By the way, crazy stat for you, 85% of the people who walk in most restaurants, I guess it's 100% of yours, Bill, because you don't have an email list, right? 85%, not to pick on you, 85% of people, my tire's gonna be sliced afterwards. DSP, I might need your security help. 85% of people that walk in restaurants, the restaurant does not have their name, email, or phone number in a manner they can market to them in a consistent way. You know what kind of effort it takes to get a consumer to drive to your place, to trust you enough to walk in your doors? And you're so lazy that you won't say, Matt, thank you, brother. I love that you came here. You know what? Here's $10. Fill this out. I want to make sure you're a customer the next 10 years. Our boat dealership that we had for 10 years, I gave my sales team anything you need to get everybody's information. They had an entire tackle department. We had a 13,000 square foot store. I told them, outside of giving away an ATV or a boat or a motor, you give away whatever you want. We had G. Loomis fishing rods. Who in here bass fishes? Anybody? G. Loomis is a nice rod. They could give anybody a G. Loomis rod for exchange for one thing, their contact info. Find a creative way to get somebody. Hey, by the way, we have a Friends of the Plapps club. I made this up one day. My salesman, Richie, was cracking up. Walked up, and I saw this guy. I saw the car he pulled up in. I knew who he was. I said, hey, by the way, you know we have a Friends of the Plapps club. What's that? Well, we don't talk about it much, but filling this out and giving me your information, your birthday, the birthday of your brother and your dad, 2 other dudes, you get a free G. Loomis fishing rod. You're shitting me. Filled it out. Now I had his info and 2 of his friends' infos. Well, guess what other friends do? Your friends bass fish. His friends bass fished. He leaves Richie Young, myself, and goes, Friends of Plapps. Like I just made it up. I saw the guy, knew who he was. I knew that you were going to suck at getting his information because you're not the greatest on our staff. I made up a reason. The only thing I wanted. And we had everybody that walked in that place, we did a damn good job getting their information because it took a lot of time and effort to get people to trust to walk through the doors. So that's all I got. If you have any questions, here's the easiest way to get a hold of me. That is my cell phone number. That is my email. That is my personal website. That leads to the other places I have websites. I'm open for conversations. I always talk to people. I love talking to restaurateurs. I love talking to entrepreneurs. I love talking to marketing people. No strings attached. I mean, I've randomly showed up at people's restaurants that texted me questions. And I'm like, oh, you're like 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I drive fast. I have a fast orange car. That's all I got. Thank y'all. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Plapp.